Thank you, Dean Payne. It is now my great pleasure to welcome to the podium Hali Woods of the class of 2026, selected by her classmates to speak on their behalf. A member of our national trial team, Hali has already distinguished herself as an outstanding advocate, earning top honors in competition, and as a valued member of our community. I'll leave it to you.
Thank you, Dean Crowley. Before I begin my remarks today, it is my honor and privilege to acknowledge the class marshal for the class of 2026, Professor Joel Alisea. The class of 2026 has chosen Professor Alisea to read our names as we cross the sanctuary to receive our degrees. This honor is a way for our class to express gratitude for inspiring, guiding, and challenging us throughout our legal education. On behalf of the entire class of 2026, thank you, Professor Alisea. Please stand to be recognized. President Kilpatrick, Provost Dominguez, Dean Payne, Mr. Hoover, esteemed faculty and staff, and most importantly, the members of the class of 2026. Halfway through the first year of law school, we had a midterm in contracts. After I struggled to carefully analyze the issues, Professor Perez reached out and generously offered his help. He told me to brief the cases for the next class and to send them to him so that he could see exactly how I was studying. I labored, obsessed, and meticulously briefed the cases, and I sent them off. Not long after, an email appeared in my inbox. The first line read, "I think this is way too much. And also, it's too little." I remember being utterly confused by this apparent contradiction. But now I understand what Professor Perez meant. I had used a lot of words, but I expressed very little information. Well, Professor Perez, hopefully this is my redemption arc, because I will now try to express years worth of gratitude, memories, and lessons on behalf of 137 graduates in about 5 more minutes. Reflecting on Professor Perez's comment got me thinking about the other apparent contradictions in law school. Not long ago, we each prepared for our first week of class. I, like many of you I'm sure, was nervous. And if, like me, your understanding of what law school would be like came from a mix of horror stories from lawyers, the r/law school Reddit forum, and Legally Blonde, you may have even been scared. You see, law school, these sources told us, is a competitive place. You will be pitted against each other, graded on a curve, and then ranked in order of your academic prowess. And it won't end there, they said, because once you get your grades, you'll have to compete for internships and a spot on the law review and a job. That is, if AI doesn't replace you first. And all of that was true to an extent. But herein lies the first contradiction. Over time, these nameless competitors became peers, and peers became friends. And so, as much as we wanted to personally succeed throughout law school, we began wanting each other to succeed in equal measure. Perhaps we weren't prepared for this part, because this is one of the many things that Catholic law does differently. Here we became a part of a community that's built on fellowship and camaraderie and shared success. Here we invested in each other as much as we invested in ourselves. And we saw this in the times that we shared notes with a classmate before they had to ask, when we said congratulations on a LinkedIn job announcement post despite anxiously awaiting an offer of our own, when we welcomed a classmate into our home for the holidays so they didn't have to celebrate alone, and as Dean Payne said, when we debated and strongly disagreed with one another, but also listened. We leave here today having reconciled the contradiction. We will be competitive and ambitious lawyers, but we will also be kind people. Because we learned here that you never know when your fiercest competitor may just become a lifelong friend. Other apparent contradictions cropped up in our classrooms. Guided by our professors, we learned that practicing the law is serious, but it can also be creative and joyful. We learned this from Professor Kevin Walsh, who never passed up an opportunity to make us smile, for example, by teaching Marbury versus Madison via musical rendition on an accordion. True story. And from Professor Joel Alisea, who took us to Middle Earth when he instructed us to draft a complaint based on property damage inflicted by the Nazgul at the Prancing Pony Inn. We were taught to have courage in our convictions while maintaining open minds. The law is dynamic, and our perspective will be too. We learned this from Professor Kara Drynan, who taught us the rules of criminal procedure, but also encouraged us to consider the delicate balance between personal liberty on the one hand and security on the other. Importantly, we were taught that we can advocate zealously while showing respect and courtesy to others. We learned this from Professor Lindsay Cloud, who taught us the art of trial advocacy and showed us that success is much more satisfying when you fight with integrity. Finally, we learned that we must respect the law, but that there may come times when we must be bold enough to change it. We learned this from Professor Roger Hartley, or Roger, as he likes to be called, who taught us constitutional law and showed us that many of the privileges, freedoms, and protections we enjoy today were hard fought for by attorneys who were brave enough to stand up and challenge the law. We are graduating in a time where there's a spotlight on the rule of law and the legal profession. We've watched hypotheticals from our classrooms become real-world problems, and we are about to have the unique privilege and immense responsibility of being in the position to solve those problems. We will chart different paths. Some of us will be clerks, associates, others prosecutors or public defenders, but we will all be faced with challenges, moral dilemmas, and judgment calls. The Columbus School of Law has prepared us for those moments because it has taught us to be comfortable navigating apparent contradictions. We are competitive and kind. We take our roles seriously, but we do it with joy. We will have courage in our convictions while maintaining open minds. We will zealously advocate while showing respect for others. And we will respect and uphold the law, but we will be brave enough to challenge it. We are novices, but we are prepared. So with that, I hope I have expressed just enough of what it means to be a graduate of the Catholic University of America, Columbus School of Law. Congratulations to the class of 2026.